Coming up tonight, President Akufo-Addo reassures of economic recovery as he announces plans to deliver State of the Nation address on Wednesday.
On Wednesday, 8th March, I will in the Chamber of Parliament deliver a message on the state of the nation, where I'll delve into much greater detail the entirety of the package of policies government is implementing to bring back the days of rapid growth.
As Ghana marks 66th Independence Day celebration, there are calls for the country to work hard at achieving economic independence. We'll hear from economist Professor John Gachi. Now, some stakeholders in the hospitality industry hope for organization of regional rotation of Independence Day celebration will boost domestic tourism. We have details of these and many others coming your way in this edition of Business Live. Grateful for your company, I am Pious Kojo Backah. To our very first story, President Akufo-Addo has once again assured that the country will soon overcome the economic challenges faced in recent times. He reiterated his government's commitment to also secure an International Monetary Fund deal which is expected to support Ghana's balance of payment with about $3 billion. Speaking at the 66th Independence Day celebration at Adaklu in the Volta region, President Akufo-Addo announced that he will present some economic policies in the State of the Nation address scheduled to take place on Wednesday.
I'm very much aware of the current difficulties confronting our nation, and we are working hard to resolve them. But maybe we should also count our blessings in how together we are managing the difficulties. We all see the images around the world. Here in Ghana, we have not had any fuel queues. We have not suffered shortages of food and essential items, or the catastrophe of Dumsum. Undoubtedly, major global developments have had a negative impact on our domestic economic performance. We have witnessed historic highs in global inflation and food prices, rising global interest rates triggered by tightening of monetary policy of central banks across several advanced economies to tame rising inflation, an energy crisis with crude oil prices reaching unprecedented highs at one point above $120 a barrel, the strengthening of the United States dollar against all other currencies, the tightening of global financing conditions, especially for emerging markets and developing economies, and the large-scale disruption of the global supply chain. These phenomena have manifested in Ghana in the form of the depreciation of our currency, the decline in gross international reserves, high inflation, elevated debt burden, significant fiscal stress, constrained domestic and external financing, and reduced GDP growth. It is these that have brought hardships upon our people. Government has deployed a number of fiscal interventions to help bring relief to Ghanaians, and I'm confident that sooner rather than later, we will see significant results of relief and recovery. In 2 days, on Wednesday, 8th March, I will in the Chamber of Parliament deliver a message on the state of the nation, where I'll delve into much greater detail the entirety of the package of policies government is implementing to bring back the days of rapid growth. Fellow Ghanaians, there is one thing I want all of us to remember, and that is that when I assumed office on 7th January 2017, I inherited a severely challenged economy whose rate of growth at the time was the lowest in over 2 decades. By dint of hard work, prudence, and creativity, we managed to turn things around, creating an economy which for the years 2017, 2018, and 2019, the years before the onset of COVID-19, was amongst the fastest growing economies not only in Africa, but also in the world, recording an annual GDP growth rate of 7%. We were the best place to do business in West Africa, and in 2021, we were described as the most attractive destination for investment in West Africa. The next 22 months of my mandate will be focused on restoring the economy we had before COVID-19 and the Russian invasion of Ukraine to the period of rapid growth. It is a solemn pledge I'm making to you, my fellow Ghanaians, and one which I am determined to fulfill.
All right, so we shall have a broader conversation on that update, but let's touch on this story. And some stakeholders in the hospitality industry are hopeful the regional rotation of national events, such as in the Independence Day celebration and Farmers' Day celebration, could be used to promote tourism and patronage of hotel services. Ghana is currently marking the 66th Independence Day celebration at Adaklu in the Volta region. Let's get on the phone and speak to the president of the Ghana Hotels Association, Dr. Edward Aka Nyamike Jr. For more, grateful you could join us on Business Live, Mr. Aka Nyamike Jr. Now, would you say the rotation of such national events are good for your members?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. And the simple answer to your question is that yes, it is. It is very important. If you look at the basic principle of tourism, which is the fact that it thrives on the movement of people. So anything that encourages people to move from one place to the other also facilitates tourism. So in 2019, when the president decided to rotate the celebration of Independence Day across the country, we saw it as a brilliant idea. And it's not about the 2 or 3 days that people will spend in that particular location that matters. It is about all the things to do with business that goes on there, which matters. Now, tourism needs to be facilitated. People must travel with some reason. Okay, there must be a purpose for travel. There must be a reason for traveling. Now, when that reason is acted upon and people go to a new area, what it does is that it exposes the area to people, it exposes the area to business, it exposes the area to development and all that, which in itself also eventually promotes tourism into the future. So it's about the people who are going there, who have some lasting memories of the place and would want to go again, and also would want to sell the place to friends, to business partners, and those who identify businesses in the place and would also want to go there. That is the aspect of this idea that we as an industry are focusing on. And so when it started in Tamale and went to Kumasi and around the Volta regions, we believe that it's an idea in the right direction. And don't forget that it also brings development to these areas. I mean, if in 10, 15 years, every region is going to have the opportunity to host the Independence Day, it means that at least some amount of development, some amount of focus will go into the regions, and that in itself also promotes tourism. So for us, it's good because it brings businesses to us anyway. It brings businesses. And
interesting to know that it is indeed good for your industry. But there are some who argue that the regional rotation of such events may result in waste of resources. Do you hold that view, especially during these austere moments?
My brother, when we say waste of resources, what exactly do we mean? Because in everything that you look at the inflows and the outflows as well, and some of the benefits are tangible, others are intangible. So have we been able to assess the tangible and intangible benefits of hosting the Independence Day in that rotation manner? To begin with, the tangible aspect relates to the development that I'm talking about. And the businesses, I mean, the local economies in the areas that the Independence Day is done. Have we checked even the amount of taxes that it will raise from businesses that operate there? So we need to look at all these factors. We need to look at even that inclusive aspect of our social development, that people also feel that they are part of the country and also want to sacrifice a bit or die a bit for the country because an event like this has been hosted there. Let's look at the full socio-economic factor in terms of the benefits that this brings, so that we don't rush into thinking that it's a waste of resources. I don't think that we have gathered enough information to take that decision. Let's do that carefully, and I'm sure we'll be able to come up with the fact that it is beneficial.
All right, so as an association, have you been able to quantify in terms of the gains you've made during 2019 when this rotation of national events, began?
Interesting question. You see, anytime I'm asked questions like this, then I rope in the Ghana Tourism Authority, I rope in the Ghana Revenue Authority, I try to rope in even the ministry. You see, ours is a simple trade association. We don't have the resources to do some of these things. We don't have the resources to do some of these research. The Ghana Revenue Authority, which is in charge of looking at some of the taxes and some of the levies that are raised on the ground, and also the Ghana Tourism Authority, which is mandated to collect some of these data, they are the ones we should be looking to provide some of this information. At least after, like you rightly said, after 3 or so years of doing these the celebrations in the various regions, we should by now have data, solid data that will even lay clear the benefits of the celebration in these regions. We do not have that kind of information. We do not have it, and we don't have the resources to organize such research. Okay, even though we believe that when the whole program started from Tamale, it was very obvious from the ground. I mean, from where we started, we realized that all the hotels were full. If not, or most of the hotels were full. Not even in the city center, but even surrounding towns, because everybody wanted to go there to be part of it. The same thing happened in Kumasi, and it has happened in Volta. So obviously, from our point, even without any deep research, from the tertiary point of view, it's positive. But when it comes to the critical data, the critical information analysis, I think the question or the assignment must be diverted to the public sector, which is in charge of it.
I know the issue about data is, of course, a great concern to you and, of course, a great concern to most of us as well. But why do you think it's so difficult for the authority to come up with data on such interesting and relevant occasions like Independence Day celebration, Farmers' Day celebration?
I don't think it is difficult for them to come out with such data. The data is there. It's just that, you see, we have not really lent our minds to the fact that such data may probably be very important in decision making and in considering even the steps in deciding where to take the celebration itself. Okay, so probably maybe a discussion like this could prompt somebody to want to look at things from that direction. We have a lot of the university students who are there looking for research topics to do this. A brilliant research topic that a master's student or even a PhD student would want to consider. Okay, but the data is there. I mean, GRA collects VAT from hotels. They collect the NHIL get fund levies from hotels. Now, if they look at the assessment for a particular period of a region, it will surely tell them that in this period, the VAT or NHIL get fund went up. What could be the reason? When they trace it down, they will see that probably because the celebration was there. So that data is there, except that we have not really taken that bold step of analyzing it and making it, put it in the form of information that would be helpful for decision making and development purposes.
Well, is there something you would proffer to the national or the Ghana Tourism Authority on that?
Well, anytime we have the opportunity to prompt the GTA on things that we believe that they can do differently, we take the opportunity. So yes, when we get the opportunity, we'll certainly raise it.
Grateful. We are indeed grateful. Dr. Edward Akanyamike Jr. is the president of the Ghana Hotels Association, speaking to us then. A happy Independence Day celebration to you as well. Now, let's stay a while longer on the Independence Day celebration. We do know that Ghana today is marking her 66 years of independence from the British colonial rule. But how economically independent has the country been? To discuss Ghana's 66th anniversary, we shall be finding out the challenges and solutions we must look at that would truly represent our economic independence. Joining us on phone is the Dean of the University of Cape Coast Business School, Professor John Gachi. For more, grateful Prof. Gachi, you could join us on Business Live. Now, would you say that the livelihood of the Ghanaian has improved over the years after all the economic challenges and the country, basically what the country has gone through during post-independence celebration, would you say?
Well, it depends on how you look at it. I think over the years, our performance in terms of livelihood has been undulating. Sometimes the performance is good, it's improving, but at another time, the performance is declining and deteriorating. And as we speak now, performance in terms of livelihood has been reducing drastically, and many people have fallen down to the poverty line. The middle class has reduced as a result of development that we are witnessing regarding debt exchange, regarding the effect of COVID-19, the effect of banking sector cleanup. So it is not a straightforward answer. We have periods where the development in living standards, development of livelihood is considered to be improving, and some other times it's considered to be undulating and declining. And we are in the declining phase right now.
And having enumerated the challenges, of course, which has led us to where we are, how do we overcome those challenges you've highlighted?
Well, I think the first thing is to identify there is a problem. Then secondly, we target the area that we have considered to be the problem and resolve. We do know that we have left the productive sector for a very long time. We need to go back to re-engineer the productive sector, the real sector of the economy. That will begin to improve our situation. Remember the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. People always, the majority of people are people who are in need of the basic needs: food, shelter, security. So we need to identify those things and begin to focus on them. It is in that way that we will be feeding into the larger masses of our people to benefit from our development and our policies. So I believe that is what we need to do. And then there are emerging issues, how we should integrate technology in production, how we should integrate technology in education, how we should integrate technology in health. So these are things that have been left. We have not done with them. And if we do that, perhaps we may be able to spread the benefit of economic management more to the people down there of the economy.
Professor Gachi, we do know that Ghana is currently seeking an IMF bailout. For a country like ours, celebrating independence after 66 years, would you say our economic policies have not largely worked out?
I didn't get that point.
I'm asking that, do you think that our economic policies over the period, 66 years after independence, it's not been so good for us?
Yeah, one can say that, but largely what has happened is that we do not implement our policies. We are overtaken by, if you like, populist agenda as opposed to our economic plan. In fact, along the line, we have even rejected the need for a development plan. When Kwame Nkrumah was led by the dictates of a development plan, you saw the country progress steadily, comprehensively, and in all facets of the sectors of the economy. Now we are not being led by a very definite economic program. So today we move for Ghana Beyond Aid. Tomorrow we don't talk about it anymore because it's not working. So that is what is creating the problem. So we do not have a focus as a country. Our focus will be guided by a national development plan. So you do part of it, you go, somebody continue, and in that order. That is when we develop. And then again, we are not inclusive enough in our economic policies and implementation. So we need to do that. We think that when a government starts something which is good, when we need to discard that thing altogether and start new things afresh. And these are the problems that the country has encountered. So until we are able to resolve that, we have a housing project not inhabited, and the money we have spent is going down the drain, and we are paying interest of those loans. But we claim that we are normal human paying for facilities which are ready to be occupied because it's not done by one government. And those are the things we need to reflect as a nation, correct them. We used to have a 30% rice production policy with the expectation of increasing that. Now we don't know which percentage we are focusing on. So these are critical issues that we need to attend to as a people.
I'm wondering why it's been difficult for current government and, of course, successive governments to comply or follow the recommendations in the National Development Plan. And I don't know why it's so difficult for governments to, comply with those directives in it. Why do you think so?
Well, it is because of selfishness and partisan policies that is causing that. Because I believe you will listen to Osafo Marfo when he was vetted at Parliament, and he said very clear that people have voted them into power. They have made promises to them in their manifesto. So they are not guided by a 40-year national development plan which was developed. So it's very clear that instead of focusing on the national development plan to guide the development of the country, it is now going to be a political agenda reflected in manifesto. And some of the things in the manifesto are put there because certain politicians come from certain areas. It is not necessary because it's a thought-through program reflective of a national development, where we should cite these projects, where we shouldn't cite these projects. Or some of these things are dictated by the class of politicians we have rather than a reflection of the national need. So the National Development Plan, which does not draw inspiration from a manifesto, which does not draw inspiration from a national development plan, is not going to develop the country, as we have seen. If you look at this government share away from a national development plan, but a 40-year national development, but they are minded to borrow a centenary bond. They wanted to issue a centenary bond, which is about 100 years. So you ask yourself, why that mismatch? Again, we talk about planting for food and jobs. It's not integrated into how it will resolve some of the problems of depreciation and import. So it's just that we have developed a program. So the linkages are not there. So that is what we should be reflecting on.
All right. So finally, before you go, there is this issue we are following up. It has to do with Ghana, China, basically ensuring that government secures, China's blessing in all these external debt cancellation. Now, what is your position? Why is it difficult for us to, get China's blessing by way of declaring their support to our debt cancellation program?
Well, China is a unique country when it comes to lending to developing countries. I think their lending policy is to make some integration into those economies for their advantage. So if you have utilized their debt over a period of time and they have not gained that benefit, it becomes very difficult for them to forgive. They can only do that if there is a condition that will benefit them at the end of the day. So, for example, if we are approaching China and China wants to cancel our debt, maybe there is a condition that will be more beneficial to China that China will put on the table.
China.
Then again, we ourselves, we are implementing policies that show Chinese that perhaps we are in position to pay. For example, we have told the whole world that we have so much gold and that we will get gold to exchange for oil. And we have started doing that. Then again, China will ask, we also need gold. So why wouldn't you use the gold to exchange for your debt? So these are all a reflection of a portfolio of conditions that China may be thinking about. I also think that some other countries who are billed to talk to China are discouraged because they don't think government has done enough in terms of expenditure cuts. So that is also discouraging a diplomatic effort across board. But now that China, they are discussing, and that the government officials will be going to China.
Professor Gachi, I would want you to make this quickly for me. I want to know whether this break or delay in getting China's... All right, so I'm told we've lost Professor John Gachi on the telephone lines. We will certainly go back to him in subsequent bulletins and get his perspective on the issue. But this has been Business Live, the Independence Day edition of the program. I am Pious Kojo Backah. For more news, you can get business stories when you log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Always a pleasure serving you, and do have a lovely Independence Day celebration. Bye-bye.